Bethesda have finally, after much quiet time, given us an update on Starfield and its future, and it sounds like good news. During the developer spotlight, Tim Lamb had this to say regarding what's coming next for the title.
I think as it comes to Starfield, I'm really excited for players to see what the team's been working on. We have some cool stuff coming, including free updates and features that players have been asking for, as well as a new DLC story. I can't go into all the details just yet, but I will say part of the team has been focused on space gameplay to make the travels there more rewarding. We're also adding some new game systems and a few other smaller delights.
Based on his statement, we can split what's coming from Bethesda into Starfield into 4 main categories: free updates, new story DLC, space travel being more rewarding, and new systems. Now, information is scarce regarding what will be contained within these elements, so I think it will be more interesting to go over what I think players would want, and also what I believe Bethesda need to do to deliver on Starfield. I think with the free updates, Bethesda should stick to how they've been handling it so far, just with a lot more consistency. So far they've added a lot of fan requests such as detailed maps, vehicles, and a far improved scanner. These were in my opinion critical fixes, but now they should expand on Starfield as much as they can, answering even more fan requests. I would love to see them try and improve the loading screen situation if at all possible, as it's been a point of tension for fans for a very long time with Bethesda games. I would love to see them add a bit more to the atmosphere of cities with NPC interactions feeling more fleshed out and detailed. Still, to this day, walking into Whiterun in Skyrim feels more immersive than walking into New Atlantis in Starfield, and there is a 10-year difference between the game's releases. This should not be the case, and I think it should be expanded upon immensely. I think Bethesda should just feel out requests from the community, focus on constructive criticism, and think about which ones they could actually handle and would suit the game, and try and add as many fan requests as possible. They should separate themselves from the hated response they got, and focus on people who are giving feedback to make good on the promise of Starfield. Now, it's not that I necessarily disagree with the rage response people have given online, but I think if Bethesda focus on the constructive criticism, they can help make good on the promise. Moving on to the story DLC, I think Shattered Space is an indication of the type of DLC Bethesda may approach with. Now, I'll be honest with you, I am yet to play it, but I haven't seen it be too well received. So here's what I would be hoping for with the new DLC. I want them to add a new city firstly. We don't have many cities in the game, and I find it really disappointing. I think the game's lacking a lot of handcrafted locations for the player to get lost in, so I would love for the DLC to put more of a spotlight on that. We also need some charming characters to return and a plot we can get invested in. When this game is at its strongest, you can get invested in a questline, but when it's at its weakest, you truly just don't care. They need to approach this story DLC from the angle of winning back player trust by having fleshed out stories and well-crafted stories. They need to make the players care. When they spoke about making space travel more rewarding, I got very happy as I felt it's really lacking in the game. Most times space travel is just annoying. It's the thing you have to do to get to the next piece of content, and they totally need to shift away from that. They need to make it something that players want to explore. I find myself fast traveling more than any prior Bethesda game in this title, and that's just because traveling in space isn't fun. So I want more random encounters, I want ship combat to feel more fun and actually contain significant loot. And I want the overall feeling of space travel to be far more exciting. Finally, he mentioned new systems, and this really could just mean anything. New gameplay systems is unfortunately a bit of a nothing statement. But I hope it means the fleshing out of Starfield's inner mechanics to put it back on track with other Bethesda games. Some more fleshed out companions would be great. I want to desperately see more from the in-game relationships too. Skyrim let us have kids, why can't Starfield? The closest we get is Korra, which just isn't the same. I think it would be awesome for things like this to be expanded upon. And I would also love for Outpost to have a similar expansion to the Fallout 4 systems. Why can't we set up stores? Why do all the NPCs at our outposts have to be friends? These are just a couple of the hundreds of things I want to see addressed, so we're just going to have to wait to see which ones Bethesda pick and choose to improve upon. The final thing I want to say is I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, why don't Bethesda just give up on Starfield? And I think while it's a valid thing to think, it's a good move for them to make good, or at least make better on the promise of Starfield. I would much rather go into Elder Scrolls 6 without the taste of disgust that they just abandoned the prior game. Plus, fans were promised a long investment, so I think it's good that they're trying to make good on that promise. Thank you for watching this shorter video. I can't wait for this Starfield update to come around, and I'll see you soon.